So there's been an update to the parade rally shooting that is about the best news you can ask for so far in the investigation, and that is every person who reportedly fired a weapon in the altercation has been taken into custody, with more charges being filed this week. And in this video, I'm going to bring you up to speed on all the latest details, but before I do, we've got to look at the most recent L'Jarius Sneed trade update, Arrowhead Stadium's future potentially hanging in the balance on a tax vote, and more. But first, how about those? First up, in the most recent L'Jarius Sneed potentially being traded update, Nate Taylor of The Athletic said a trade was indeed in place between the Titans and the Colts, but they couldn't come to terms with Sneed and the amount of money he wanted, so the trade never happened. Sneed reportedly wants a 3 or 4 year deal that makes him one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league, and it's been a tough sell. I think it's that, combined with the fact he's 27 years old with a history of knee issues. He's one of the best corners in the game, so well worth it in my biased Chiefs opinion, but again, that's where the sticking point is. Oddly enough, the Titans then pivoted from trying to trade for L'Jarius Sneed to signing wide receiver Calvin Ridley to that monster 4-year deal, which is odd considering that's a completely different position on the other side of the ball. But okay, the Lions were maybe interested in Sneed, but traded for Carlton Davis from the Bucs instead. And then 3 other teams, the Patriots, Vikings, and Falcons, have reportedly, quote, stopped engaging the Chiefs on Sneed. So while trade talks have looked like they've been put on pause, they could ramp up again shortly before the draft in roughly 3 or 4 weeks from now, when a team realizes that Sneed is by far their best option out of getting him for a 2nd or 3rd round pick compared to drafting a corner in the 2nd or 3rd round. However, they once again will need to be prepared to pay Sneed $20+ million per year for 3 to 4 years and have plenty of guarantees in there, because he reportedly turned down a 4-year, $80 million contract that I think was from the Titans, but the dispute was probably over the amount of guarantees in the later years. And one of the front runners that could still be interested in Sneed prior to the draft is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, who were reportedly in on Sneed along with the Titans, per Diana Rossini of The Athletic. Many around the kingdom remain optimistic that if a Sneed trade does not pan out, the Chiefs will still find a way to get some sort of extension done with him. Doing that would lock him back up where he wants to be anyway, in KC, for another couple of years, and lower this year's cap hit quite a bit. Nate Taylor said that's certainly still a potential option, as they'd have until July 15th to work out a long-term deal, and maybe Sneed could be interested in a 3-year deal with close to $40 million guaranteed. However, Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated seems to have put that idea to rest when he said yesterday on the Arrowhead Addict podcast that if Sneed does stay around this season, it will be on the franchise tag.
The one thing I can tell you for sure that I was told on no uncertain terms were the Chiefs will let him play on the tag. They're fine with that. But if he plays in Kansas City, it's going to be on the tag. There is not going to be a long-term extension. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Chiefs have very good young corners, and they have to extend Humphrey and Bolton and maybe Trey Smith. And so I think that's kind of where we are.
Well, not the best thing you want to hear, but sometimes business is business, and it is what it is. Verderame didn't even mention the fact that the Chiefs will also want to do what they can to keep Trent McDuffie around for years to come as well, though extension talks with him are still a couple seasons off. Anyway, with all that being said, what are your thoughts right now around the most recent Sneed trade talk? At this point, are you hoping he gets traded so he can get his bag and the Chiefs can have an extra $20 million in cap space to sign other positions of need? Or are you wanting to see him back this season, even if it's on the franchise tag, knowing that Veach can find other ways, if necessary, to free up cap space? Let me know either way in the comments down below. Next up, the Chiefs and Royals could both be relocating, potentially. The time to vote on the Royals and Chiefs stadium tax is coming up on April 2nd, and while I won't spend a ton of time on this, considering the vote is only for those who are eligible to vote in Jackson County, it involves how long the Chiefs could potentially be staying at their current location at Arrowhead and upgrades that would happen if this passes. This new tax is a tax that would replace the current one that funds the Truman Sports Complex, that's Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium. The current one is a 3/8 cent tax on purchases made in Jackson County and is due to expire right now in 2031. But the new tax to vote on would go for 33 years longer than it would have otherwise, 40 years in total, until 2064. The new tax amount is the same, a 3/8 cent tax on purchases made in Jackson County, but again, in place for much longer, with the revenue being split evenly between the Chiefs and the Royals. The Royals have no intention of playing at Kauffman Stadium after their lease expires in 2028, I believe it is, no matter what happens with this new tax. Their goal is for a new stadium being built in the East Crossroads, downtown KC area, and ready to play in by 2028. Meanwhile, the Chiefs plan to renovate Arrowhead with several upgrades, including a new video board, end zone suites, and a covered fan zone where Kauffman Stadium currently stands. And yeah, that means Kauffman would be torn down, and the Chiefs said they would pay for $300 million of the $800 million project. Also, both teams, along with county officials, signed a 22-page letter of intent. It's not legally binding, but they signed this letter of intent in late January that contains promises from the teams that are not in the existing agreement, such as giving up the $3.5 million they receive every year from the county's parks property tax levy, paying for their insurance on the stadiums, something neither team currently pays for now, and then they will cover the cost of demolishing Kauffman Stadium. If this tax does not pass on April 2nd, Chiefs president Mark Donovan said that a relocation would certainly be on the table. Quote, I think they, as in options, would have to include leaving Kansas City. He did make it clear that the goal is to stay, they want to stay, and quote, we're willing to accept a deal for the county to actually stay here. Well, many freaked out about this statement Mark Donovan made, but if they relocate, it wouldn't be for roughly another 7 years, and I would think they stay in the Kansas City area. The most likely relocation would be to the Kansas side by the Legends. However, if this passes, the Chiefs would sign a 25-year lease at Arrowhead with a team option for 3 5-year extensions. Owner Clark Hunt said they would not be willing to sign a lease for another 25 years like that without the financing to properly renovate and reimagine the stadium. And so there you have it. There are mixed opinions across the board on this. Some say, hey, Clark Hunt and his family are worth $10+ billion. They're one of the wealthiest owner groups, families, whatever you want to label it, in the entire NFL. And so they should pay for the entire renovation. They are also pointing out the fact that Mahomes and company have done so well since 2018, bringing the team a ton of success, and it's in turn made the organization a ton of money as well, listing that as another reason why the county shouldn't have to pay for it. Others are fine with it being a tax that they've already been paying for many years, and it wouldn't change the amount that's already being paid out. Let me know your thoughts on this. Would you vote yes? Would you vote no? And why? Down in the comments below. And then, did you know that a Kansas City, Missouri resident has been charged for stealing $45,000 or so worth of Miami Dolphins equipment? That's right. Joseph Brown Sr. is his name and is being hit with a Class C felony charge of stealing. It looks like he allegedly broke into a Miami Dolphins box truck around the time the Dolphins played the Chiefs in the wild card game in January. This box truck just so happened to be full of team gear / equipment, and he allegedly stole football pads, gloves, shoes, game film, and several large cases full of equipment valued to be a total of around $46,000. This guy apparently has been suspected to be involved in several thefts in the downtown KC area and was previously convicted of stealing in 2021. I mean, holy smokes, man. First off, what is up with people in the KC area that like to watch football and steal tons of stuff, i.e. Chiefsaholic and other wannabe dum-dums like that guy? And second, what on earth was this man doing stealing Miami Dolphins equipment? I think the estimated value of everything stolen is grossly overvalued considering the franchise he stole from. All right, all jokes aside, HBTC Law and Order must go on because there's finally been a bit of a positive update here regarding the Chiefs rally shooting. It was announced this week that every single person who fired a gun in the altercation after the Chiefs rally ended has been taken into custody. As a reminder, shots broke out at the Chiefs Super Bowl rally at Union Station back in February that wounded at least 25 people and took the life of 43-year-old Lisa Lopez Galvan. This was a result, by the way, of a disagreement between two parties over basically nothing, and is hopefully something every one of these individuals will not only regret for years to come, but will do so while behind bars. Initially, 2 adults were charged with second-degree felony murder and unlawful use of a weapon, with those being 23-year-old Lindell Mays and 18-year-old Dominic Miller. But Jackson County prosecutor Gene Peters Baker announced a 3rd adult this week was charged with second-degree felony murder and unlawful use of a weapon, as well as 2 counts of armed criminal action, and that is 20-year-old Terry J. Young. Young allegedly was among one of the groups involved, and he pulled out a gun, pointed it toward a member of this other group, and advanced toward that person. Surveillance camera footage then showed he fired that weapon several times and then fled. Well, they were able to identify Young due to the half green and half yellow backpack he was wearing, and also matched his cell phone to be in the area of the shooting around the time it happened. So he's since been arrested and held on a $1 million bond. On top of that, two 16-year-old teenagers have also been charged and detained in juvenile detention, which those two were arrested, I believe, back in February, but it looks like a third teen has also been charged, a 15-year-old, and may be charged as an adult. The charges for the 15-year-old is for the unlawful use of a weapon, for shooting at a person, and armed criminal action. Both are felonies. And with that, it looks like 6 in total have been charged, 3 adults and 3 teens, if I'm reading the report correct. And that means, per the words of prosecutor Gene Peters Baker, that, quote, everyone we've identified who discharged a firearm in response to the verbal altercation detailed here has been taken into custody, which is great news, though of course it won't undo the damage that's been done or bring back the life of Lisa Lopez Galvan. However, hopefully the legal system wins out here, and in the end, all of these guys spend many, many years in prison for what they did, and doing so in a crowd full of people. I mean, it is just beyond idiotic. And before I get out of here, some people in the comments of these Super Bowl rally shooting update videos, I've done a couple before, are upset with me for some reason for not labeling this as gang-related violence. I mean, I have no idea if these guys are in a gang or if the altercation stemmed over something gang-related. Therefore, I do not speculate such things in my reports, as I feel it's irresponsible to do so. However, if I ever find out that is indeed the case, I have no problem letting you guys know that is indeed the facts. So if, for whatever reason, me wanting to be accurate in my reporting without speculation over very sensitive subjects like this offends you, that is a you problem, not a me problem. Anyway, with all that being said, that's all for today, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?